إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. ويقوله سبحانه وتعالى يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام ذلك يوم الخلود لهم ما يشاءون فيها ولدينا مزيد. Dear brothers and sisters, many of us may be aware of these realities that await us at the end of our journey in this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in one place, He warns us to take precautions against a fire whose fuel is indeed men and stones. He warns us to take precautions against a day that He subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the hellfire, are you full? And the hellfire will reply, are there more? But conversely, He subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives us glad tidings. He reminds us that there's a reward for good works. He reminds us that there will be a day when paradise will be drawn near to those who did good deeds, those who were righteous. It will be said to them, this is what you were promised. For those who were sincere in their repentance, for those who preserved their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those who feared the most gracious in the actions of, or the matters of the unseen, those who brought a heart that was turned in repentance. To them it said, enter paradise in peace. This or that is the day, the eternal day. For them is all that they desire and more. These are the two realities that await all of us at the end of this journey called life. One, a painful torment, a painful return. And then the other, a glorious abode. This choice is in front of us each and every day. It's in front of us as adults. It's in front of our children. So what we want to do briefly today is just ask ourselves that if we were to take stock of our lives right now, if we were to look at our lifestyle right now, which of these realities are we headed for? If we were to leave the earth today, which of these two are we headed for? Of course, the ultimate knowledge of that is with our Lord Most High. But if we were to be honest with ourselves, we might find that our lifestyles and our children's lifestyles are in grave danger of not reaching the lofty goals that we want to attain. All of us here in America, we know that our youth, they face tremendous challenges. On a daily basis, they're faced with things that weren't brought to us when we were their age. So much of what they see, so much of what they hear, so much of what they have to witness on a daily basis, it helps to program them against the very things that we hold very dear. So as parents, we find ourselves trying our best to keep up with all of the latest trends, the latest fads from popular culture. And we're doing a pretty, well, I can't say we're doing a pretty good job, but we're doing the best we can. Like treading water, some of us, like treading these troubled waters. And the waters, every single time we get used to a particular trend, here comes the next. So, the social media ocean. Back in the day, they used to have MySpace. The kids don't know what that is. Okay, so back in the day, they used to have MySpace. And then we got used to that. We learned how to navigate that somewhat. We got strong with it. We learned how to use it to our advantage a little. And then here comes Facebook. And that wave hits us. And we learn how to navigate it a little bit. We waste tremendous amounts of time. But we learn how to navigate it to a degree. And then as soon as we get proficient in that, here comes the next wave. Here comes Instagram, bombarding you and your children, or I should say us and our children, with images, some that we can control and some that we can't control. So it knocks you off your foundation, but you figure out how to deal with that. And then as soon as you get the hang of that, boom, here's Snapchat. And you're back to square one. And it keeps coming. So each wave that comes to us, it's bigger than the next, and we have difficulties dealing with it. And it takes our children further and further away from those things that we know we hold very dear. It takes them away from the things that we're trying to instill in them. The harder you work to teach them what's right, the harder they work to put in front of them what we know is wrong. So they become exposed to some of the very worst things that popular culture has to offer. And you can say, but Ustadh Siddique, as my students say, there's some benefit. We get a lot of benefit, you know. There are Islamic sites and there's Islamic discourse that we're having. But if we're honest and we weigh the benefits and the harm, I think we all know deep down inside that those harms truly outweigh those benefits. So then, since many of us, adults and children alike, we're in this ocean, then we have to do a better job of navigating the waters. Or we should just get out of the water altogether. But if we can't do that, and many of us find a lot of weakness in ourselves so we can't do it, then what ends up happening is our children, they get involved with it at younger and younger and younger ages. And most of them, if not all of them, are ill-equipped to deal with the strong messages and currents that are coming through these sources. And then you look at your sons and your daughters, and you notice that the light on their faces is becoming dimmer and dimmer. Some of you who know me, I've been teaching the children in the Bay Area now for over 10 years. And it's alarming the degree in which many of the parents don't really know what's going on with their children. When I examined the issue further, it became even more alarming to realize that the children themselves, they weren't really aware of what was happening to them. It's sad to see that many of my students, they have chosen to imitate aspects, in particular of my culture, the African American culture. Some of the most negative aspects of the culture, you find that that's what attracts them and they seek to imitate. Very seldom do I have a student who will come to me and he's imitating Malcolm. He's not dressing like Malcolm. He's not speaking like Malcolm. He's not walking or talking or thinking or acting like Malcolm or Muhammad Ali, even though he's a hero, and they're heroes. But they don't emulate those lifestyles. Our sisters, I can't find Betty Shabazz. I can't see them walking like her, or talking like her, or dressing like her. Instead, for the brothers, I get Jay-Z, or Kanye. Or the sisters, I get Rihanna and Beyonce. All right? This is with the hijab, of course. My bad. Yeah, so she has the hijab. But in reality, and if you don't believe me, you can go and walk into any of the public schools in the area and go watch our youth. Go watch how they act. I deal with them on a daily basis, and I can tell you from experience, this is what we're dealing with. When I sit and discuss some of these issues with them, it's as if I'm back home in Washington, D.C., on the streets. They'll come, the brothers will come, the pants are sagging, the hats are on backwards. And you look at them and you're asking, brother, why are you dressing like that? Where'd you get that from? Do you know where it comes from? Ustadh Siddique, everybody's dressing like this, man. But I tell them, you know where that comes from? Did you know that that comes from a situation in the African American community where many of our youth face incarceration, and as a result of being afraid of having to go and face the general prison population, many of them were committing suicide, so they would take their belts and hang themselves with that. And so being put on suicide watch meant they would take your belt, so your pants, as a result, their pants would fall down. Now that culture reached the streets, and now it's in your living room. Then, they're dabbing and everything is dabbing all over the place. And I'm looking at some brothers that they don't know what dabbing is. Okay, well, your kids know what it is. All right, so if you can't help but to see dabbing. If you walk across the stage, you graduate, you're dabbing. Huh? Some of the teachers who call themselves being innovative in their classrooms, they give the student a question, the student answers the question back, and to celebrate, they dab. Teachers dabbing, students dabbing. If you're a politician, you're probably dabbing today too. But where does it come from? And why are we imitating that? When I ask them, even in my community, the African American community, if you weren't brought up in certain environments, you won't even know where it's coming from. But for those of us who have that background, we know where it comes from. And we know it's not a good place. Did you guys know that this particular move, it originated as a result of those who took a strong hit of marijuana? So to cover that is the motion that they would make. So now you have drug culture that found its way into the streets. Now it's in your living room. And it's sad, I have to say, that we have to be able to ask, where is this going to lead our youth if we don't step in and do something about it? So I have some advice for all of us tonight, inshallah, after the khutbah. We need to go home, sit them down, find out who it is who are their heroes, who are their sheroes, who are the ones that they aspire to be like in this society, who are the ones that they admire, who are the ones that they look up to. And then if you find that these examples that they give to you are not to your liking, or that they're not compatible with the Islamic values that you have, or those things that you know would be more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's time to sit down and reevaluate and reassess with them those things that are really important in this world. But you can't stop there. You have to sit them down, but then you have to give them an alternative. You have to place before them examples that are better. Examples that are going to lead them to those places that you and I, inshallah, we desire to see them go. And it won't suffice to drop them off at lectures or to read stories to them out of books. Those are good starts, but that won't be sufficient. They need to see you and I doing something. They have to have living, breathing examples. Living, breathing, brave, courageous examples of those who can go against the social currents and stand strong. The Arabs used to have a saying for people who would embody this type of youthful vigor and courage. It was called futuwa. And they would say, ليس الفتى من قال كان أبي ولكن الفتى من قال ها أنا ذا. They would say that the one who displays this youthful courage is not the one who's always saying that my fathers used to do this and our fathers were great, but the one who has this quality is the one who says, here I am. Here I am. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So I don't want to make everybody think it's all doom and gloom, because it's not. In fact about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always puts the solutions very near. The issue is, do we have the will to make it come about? The source of my optimism actually comes from an example that I've seen right in this community. The example of an imam and a young man. So I'm going to tell you the story about this imam and this young man, inshallah, and hopefully it can give us some instruction on how to go about fixing some of these issues that we have. So this particular young man was brought to this imam, and the imam didn't lecture him. He didn't try to scold him. Instead, the imam just shared what he knew, what he had of knowledge and wisdom around this young man. But the way he did it impacted the young man so strongly that it encouraged him to give up the speech of his friends in the streets and to begin to emulate the diction and the talk of that particular imam. The fads and dressing, how to dress to impress, he gave that up because he saw a powerful example in this imam who still dressed well, but he wasn't necessarily concerned with what everybody else was doing. So it impacted that young man in a very strong way. That young man became encouraged to study his deen more, and so he had the opportunity to go and visit the imam's house. And when he was there, one thing that he noticed, a little out of place, but he noticed the music stand there. But on the music stand, he didn't find, sheet music, no Charlie Parker, no John Coltrane, no Dexter Gordon. Instead, what he found was a thin copy of the Mus'haf that was open to a particular page in front of the prayer book. And of course, there's a subha hanging from his music stand as well. This young man is watching all of this, and it's impacting his life. Slowly, he's coming back. He's changing his ways. He had a chance to go overseas with this imam, with a few other students, and they decided they're going to try and really watch his character and see what they could see from him. Really, they wanted to see if he observed the night prayer. So they stayed up as long as they could, trying to catch him sleeping. But eventually they would fall asleep, and the imam would wake them up. So after seeing that, the impression is becoming bigger and bigger for this young man. Finally, they come back to the Bay Area, and he's studying in Hayward with the other students. They're living very close to the masjid. The imam is having a class before Salat al-Fajr for hadith. They covered Sahih Muslim that year, the entire collection of Imam Muslim. And this imam is religiously, the imam, by the way, was living in San Leandro or San Lorenzo, one of these two places. But the students are right next to the masjid. But every day, when they come to the masjid, his bike is already there. So this is having an impact on this young man. The young man, as a young student, he's struggling to do his best to keep his family afloat while he studies. And he notices under the door, there are envelopes that are coming under his door with money for him to take care of his family and their needs. He looks out of the peephole and he sees that's the imam. What I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is that's the commitment that you have to have. Brothers, imagine if that was the relationship you had with your sons. Sisters, imagine if that was the relationship you had with your daughters. If they saw that. Ha ana that. Yeah, here I am. I'll be that example. Because when they see you doing something, that will have it might not have an impact right away. As even with the young man, he had his struggles. It was stage by stage. But in fact, because of the commitment of that imam to trying his best to emulate and embody the qualities of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you could see the impact it had on that young man's heart. So when that happens, you'll see our youth begin to turn things around. Then they become wise. Then they take technology and use it to their benefit. Then they realize what this world is really all about. They make it a source of conveyance to get them from the shores of life to the shores of death. As Imam al-Shafi'i is attributed to him this poem, he says, إِنَّ لِلَّهِ عِبَادٍ فُطَنًا طَلَّقُوا الدُّنْيَا وَخَافُوا الْفِتَنَا نَظَرُوا فِيهَا فَلَمَّا عَلِمُوا أَنَّهَا لَيْسَتْ لِحَيٍّ وَطَنًا جَعَلُوهَا لُجَّةً وَاتَّخَذُوا صَالِحَ الْأَعْمَالِ فِيهَا سُفُنًا. He says that, verily for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there are some sagacious slaves who divorce this world and its wicked ways. When they looked deeply into it, they came to understand that verily this was not their native land. So they made it like the ocean's blue and took righteous deeds as ships to sail through. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.